'Cause I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere, man. Across the deserts bare, man. I've breathed the mountain air, man. I've traveled, I've had my share, man. I've been everywhere. Been to Tullamore, Seymour, Lismore, Mooloolaba, Nambour, Wichita, Kilmore, Marillaba, Birdsville, Emmaville, Wallaville, Connemara, Strathround, Proserpine, Allerdala, Darwin, Gingin, Lillaquen, Muckilla, Wallavilla, Bougainville, Cumberland, Ramakiller. I've been everywhere, man.
Yeah. He's been everywhere, man. His name's Lucky Star at 12 minutes to 11 o'clock. But I bet you he hasn't been to Kerang, Rob, where we find Amy Miner. G'day, Amy.
Hello.
How you going?
Yeah.
Just breaking up a little bit. We'll keep persisting.
Amy, where the hell's Kerang?
Well, where I tell people, it's about 3 hours north of Melbourne, and between Swan Hill and Echuca.
So I'm going to say this deliberately, just to provoke some conversation. So you're on the Murray then?
We're not on the Murray. We're close to the Murray. We've got Kerang lakes and we've got creeks and streams, but not on the Murray.
But you are one of the big towns on the Murray Valley Highway, notwithstanding the fact you're not on the Murray.
Yeah.
So I'm perceptive like this. I have been to Kerang and I've never noticed the Kerang accent as much as I have with you. It seems to be a little unusual.
My accent?
Yeah.
Well, I'm Canadian.
Right.
Yeah.
That explains it. That explains it. I thought, geez, they talk funny up at Kerang.
Well, they talk funny up at Kerang anyway, but with a Canadian accent even more so. So we'll come back and visit why you're in Kerang, but what do people in Kerang do?
A lot of farming, footy, netball.
Okay. What sort of things do they farm?
Wheat, barley, canola, sabres.
Yeah, all very familiar with this. I'm the agricultural segment of this show here. Amy, Neil looks after the high corporate level stuff.
It's funny, Amy, that he thinks he is the agricultural one. Where did we meet? Did we meet at an event for irrigating farmers?
Yes, we did. I work for a farming systems group.
Hey, just because you're up there on the take doesn't mean you know anything about agriculture.
I'm an expert. Amy's seen me at work. So irrigation plays an important part in the world of Kerang and around there. Is farming exclusively irrigated up there, or is there other activity going on as well?
It's not exclusively irrigated. There's dryland farming as well. I'm sort of new to the space, so I can't provide a whole bunch of history and background. I've only been in Kerang 2 years. Not quite 2 years.
Well, there's an obvious question then coming, isn't there? What on earth does a young lady from Canada do landing in Kerang? How does that happen?
I met an Australian.
Another one of them. Yeah.
No, we lived in Melbourne for a while, and I studied plant sciences and moved into agricultural science space, which took me to Kerang a couple of years ago.
Amy, were you touring Australia when you met your partner, or was he touring Canada?
He wasn't touring Canada, but he was in Canada. He was working in Canada.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I asked that question once of an Irish person who'd married in Australia, and I said, who was in Ireland? Or, were you in Ireland? And they were in Thailand. Neither.
It's an interesting story because my dear late mother-in-law did exactly the same thing. She met an Australian in Canada and came out here and started a whole new life, and was very pleased about that. And we hope you stay a long time and have as much fun.
Yes, I've been here a while. Yep.
Now, I'm tipping that you mentioned the sport factor, which is one of the things that holds communities together, and it's great that you noted that already. Netball is certainly not a national sport in Canada, I wouldn't think. Have you adopted the game in Australia?
I have not.
Doesn't appeal to you at all?
I'm not going to lie. I'm not a huge sports enthusiast. My husband loves his sport. No, I haven't played netball.
She's playing centre-half back for the Kundruk Barham Raiders, but...
I've had people sort of, question my sports...
History?
history.
Yep.
Arrived in town to see if I wanted to play for any of the teams, but no, I'm not very athletic, unfortunately.
Just looking at your height, I suspect you'd make a reasonable netballer if you put your mind to it, because that's one of the advantages that people have when they're playing netball. So when you were growing up in Canada, were you living in a similarly regional environment, or were you living in a big city?
Well, I was going to say neither, to be honest. I grew up in Ottawa, in suburbia.
Okay.
So Ottawa's not a very big city. It was, well, when I lived there, it was under 1 million, but spread out pretty far. And I lived sort of the edge of Ottawa at the time. So, no, I didn't get into agriculture until my mid-30s.
So I'm fascinated by. I asked this question of others that we've had on this program. There's a lady called Tori Kopke who lives in Cunderdin, in the middle of nowhere in Western Australia. She grew up in the city in a city in Texas. If I tapped that 14-year-old Amy on the shoulder and said to her, "Do you know what? You're going to actually find a person to spend the rest of your life with, and they're going to take you to a town not on the Murray, but very near the Murray in Victoria, Australia," what would she have said to me?
Oh, no way. No way. I was going to live in the city when I was 14.
Yeah, life turns up funny things, and interestingly, the change to agriculture, and there's an element of your husband as well dragging you there. But education-wise, did you get a little bit of a hint of agriculture doing science or something at school?
Not when I was no, not in my 20s when I did school the first time. I was in travel and tourism. I was going to travel the world, and
well, you've done that bit.
Well, a little bit, yeah.
Well, you've seen Kerang. That's all you really need to see, isn't it?
But no, I mean, I went back to university. I actually wanted to study geology because I love rocks. But also took biology and sort of fell in love with plants and agriculture and the importance of research in agriculture, and then going further after a couple of years, the communities involved in agriculture, and yeah.
Well, if you love rocks, jump in the car and drive 40 minutes south, and you can go through Pyramid Hill, which is a hill of rocks. We talked to our mate down there the other day, Drew.
Yeah. I've been there. It's beautiful. I love it.
It's an interesting town. That's all I'm prepared to say.
It might sound very funny if someone says, "I love rocks," but when you actually get involved in different sorts of rocks, they become quite magnetic, thinking about how they could possibly be created and what things were like millions of years ago. Was that sort of the trick for you?
I don't know. I mean, I loved rocks when I was a kid, and then I think I studied them more, and I mean, everybody loves volcanoes because they're interesting. But I think when it came down to actually finding a job within geology, it wasn't as I wasn't as passionate about it. And the thing that's really different with geology is, yeah, you're studying things potentially that have happened millions of years ago, and it's I mean, plants change. They can change in a day, and I find that a bit more interesting.
Well, it's a bit easier to work out what the difference is, isn't it? And so the irrigators of the Murray region, you're obviously quite familiar with them in the work that you do. This year is going to be a good year for the irrigators, or not?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, water's cheap, which is always a good thing. And we have had a few frosts this season.
3 in a row this week, which was very testing for me up in that neck of the woods, and they can be quite savage, can't they?
Yeah, it's been really cold weather, but beyond that, I think it's meant to be a good season. I think so, yeah.
Well, the crops do look very well. As I drove through the top of the Mallee yesterday, I was quite impressed how well they are. They look better than they do down here, actually, which is a little unusual. And yeah, I would have thought everyone up there would be hoping for an important or a very good season. And you was discussing about community around agriculture, and it's just so vital to everyone in the community if the farmers are having a good time of it, Amy.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a trickle down effect, of course. Yeah, if the farmers are struggling, the businesses in town are struggling, and it's a real ripple effect. But it's always, it's, and mental health wise, it's really important, and yeah.
Now, that was part of and I love doing it, so just mention that to Mel that I really love doing the job. Coming up and just spending time in a room of people who, as we've often said, work their backsides off all year and may get a paycheck at the end of the year. It's really important that they're supporting each other, and you just walk into a room full of 80 or 90 farmers, and you would have seen it last week in Speed, that it's just an extraordinary environment, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. And I love the knowledge sharing between the farmers, and it doesn't have to be necessarily scientific. It could be just everyday chit chat, but just great conversations, and really willing to sort of share information and share tips, and check in on each other, and yeah.
Yeah, no, it's good. Well, Amy, it's been great having a chat and finding out a little bit about Kerang and about how a Canadian girl ended up in Kerang. But look forward to catching up at some stage soon. Thanks for being part of Regional Roundup.
Oh, thank you.
There she is.
Thanks, Amy. Best wishes.